All right. Good afternoon. Welcome, Ward Wrestling Live. Sorry we came on late. Coach was busy in some meetings over there at the university on Zoom, I'm sure, because nothing's in person these days. And we got him on. And I just want to welcome, I'm honored. I've got Coach Roger Reina here, the Penn coach, Dave Schultz Wrestling Club coach, PARTC coach, Penn alum himself, several EIWA championships as a wrestler, as well as a coach. He's a Penn alum, PA Hall of Famer, all-time winningest coach at Penn, and a long lineage of Reinas that have been at Penn as well. So welcome, Coach. Thank you so much for coming on. It's an honor to speak with you. How you doing today?
Yeah, I really appreciate it, Dan. It's a pleasure to be with you. It's a good day. You're right. All our meetings are on Zoom as well. So we're getting accustomed to the technology, but still moving our work forward. So
sure, yeah. And I first of all, obviously, I'm sure you live in the same country we do, so you're being affected, I'm sure, as everyone else is. What has this done to your off season or recruiting season or whatever you have your athletes do from after NCAAs to fall or whatever?
yeah. Well, obviously we've not been, able to train our guys. We left mid-March. I think we were 5 days before heading off to the NCAA championships when we learned they were canceled, and that weekend, moved off. Everybody, sent home, and so we've transitioned to, doing what we can online. My head assistant coach, Brian Pearsall, and I, we made a list, those first couple of days and be like, okay, things we can do, things we can't do. And, recognize that, hey, there's opportunity to pick up our game and the things that we can do. And so we've done a lot of work, with the team. We focused on, video review, technical review online. So, we'll have these Zoom meetings with the team and we'll go over technique, either, our own guys wrestling or, guys at the NCAA or world level wrestling. We've continued to focus on our fundraising, even despite challenging economic times for everybody, very respectfully appreciating that. We've still moved forward. Today's actually the last day of our fiscal year, so we're hustling in, getting those last gifts in, so we can be the program at the University of Pennsylvania, amongst others, I'm sure, but making sure we're hitting our goals and pulling our weight even in tough times.
Yeah, I mean, I gotta ask. Philly's a college town, man. There's colleges everywhere in Center City, and I mean, has everybody just kind of gone home, or are they all back? And what are the colleges? Are they just obviously not business as usual?
Yeah, no. So our campus, everything's been canceled in terms of in-person classes. Not only the tail end of the spring, Dan, but also during the summer. We typically have 2 summer sessions, and those were everything was moved online. So everybody's learning how to be, good online students. As far as training, we're not permitted training. We are permitted to provide physical workouts for our guys. So our strength and conditioning coaches still write workouts and send them out on a weekly basis. And we recognize some people have access to lift gyms and equipment, and other people don't. So some of these are what you can do at home, but there's lots of ways to stay strong and stay fit, and we're encouraging guys that way.
Yeah, I don't know if you saw the guy, Coach Diglia, just Mike Diglia, right? He's just outside of the city at a high school. He's got some videos that he's starting to do where he's sending them out to kids, where he's showing them what you can do on a tree and what you can do in the grass, or how you can kind of still get your exercise in with nature. So he's trying to do his part to help as well. So, hopefully people are seeing that. And it's nice to be on the Philly side of Pennsylvania today. I've been the last few days. I've gotten the Pittsburgh side coaches. I gotten Pitt on. I had some different clubs over there. It's it's nice back to be in cheesesteak country, right?
That's right. That's
well,
right.
I mean, talk about recruiting the Southeast. You obviously have been doing it. You've been doing it well. I know you have Jamar from down here, Jesse Martinez, a stud from Florida, coming up to see you. I had him on the show, but you've been finding some diamonds down here, huh?
Yep. Yeah, we've been really fortunate. And I think, Penn is the kind of school with the academic reputation, that we can recruit nationwide, and we do. I mean, at the same time, we recognize, we're right in the middle of a hotbed here with Pennsylvania, New Jersey, and Ohio, and New York, this region. But when I first came on and took the job over, one of the highest ranked guys on the big board who hadn't signed yet was Anthony Artolona. And, we got to know Anthony through the course of that summer and watched him out in Fargo, just tremendous matches. And I think his third Fargo freestyle championship and a finals appearance in Greco as well. But man, we just got really impressed with him as a person and with the community at Tampa Prep, and, how they talked about Anthony, how he presented himself, and Coach Bricker and his staff down there. So we were just really fortunate that, what Anthony wanted to accomplish in his life, both on and off the mat, really matched up, with what we offered at Penn. So he came on board. And then also from Lake Highland Prep, Ben Golden, super hardworking, heavyweight, and, coach down there doing a phenomenal job. So we were really impressed with Ben, and again, like a good match. And so, yeah, so we started picking up. Some people came in and talked to us like, oh, this is a Florida strategy. And I was like, well, it's really kind of like, who matches up with what we offer in our goals strategy. It just happened to work, but it's led to some relationships down in the Southeast that, we really value, and we keep building on. And I'm really impressed with Coach Reagan and the Woodward Academy program, and the guys that he's got coming to doing things nationally out of Georgia, and great students down there too. And then Jesse, of course, from Riverdale, we're really thrilled about. So, Grant Aronoff over from the East Side, injured this past year. I think he's poised to break through, certainly has the talent to do it. And so it's been some really great additions, from the Southeast for us.
Yeah, awesome, man. It's good to see, because we like to see our state growing. As a matter of fact, I just had one of the guys that supports the show. He's been great. His name is Shane McCall. He's got a young middle schooler out there doing good things. But he just put a question. He said, Mr. Reina, do you have advice for Florida kids at public high schools to get noticed by big schools? Also, any attributes that are important to you when evaluating a wrestler?
Yeah. So to the first question, what tournaments do we focus on? As I mentioned to you previously, Dan, we're big believers in the Olympic styles and freestyle and Greco for a lot of different reasons. So tournaments that we really focus on, the cadet nationals, the junior nationals. We also look at who's going to the Southeast regionals, especially if they're just getting, kind of started in the Olympic styles. The regional tournaments are important. And then the junior world team trials and the cadet world team trials. So those, we really value those. And if kids haven't, gotten started by the time they get to high school, we really encourage them to jump into those styles, find coaches who are familiar with them, if their own coaches aren't, and get going. We also go to Super 32, great tournament. We go to Virginia Beach, great tournament. And then we go to, during the winter, Ironman, Beast. And those are, kind of the primary recruiting tournaments we attend. Attributes we're looking for, to us, character comes first. So really, wrestlers that are, presenting themselves in competition with high character, win or lose. We get character references, multiple character references on every recruit that we talk with and we look at and before we offer them. So really high character and exceptional work ethic. This combination of, Division I wrestling is really super high powered Olympic Regional Training Center, and Ivy League academics is great, but you really got to have the work ethic to roll your sleeves up, to take full advantage of it. So work ethic is another big one, big attribute.
Excellent. Thank you, Shane. Hope that answered your question. And thanks for always posting some questions here. So one of your alum wrestlers, and did he win the Olympics, or he qualified for the Olympics? Brandon Slay, coaching over the RTC.
Yeah. So Brandon Slay, from Amarillo, Texas, up to Penn. And Brandon was a two-time NCAA finalist for us. losing two super close matches in his finals appearances, and then pretty quickly thereafter he graduated, avenging one of those losses to go on and make the Olympic team and go down to Sydney, Australia. And in Sydney, Brandon beat Buvaisa Satiev, the Russian three-time Olympic champion. Satiev only lost one match in his career in 4 Olympiads, and that was to Brandon Slay. And Brandon was 24 years old, the youngest member of the Olympic team at the time. And Brandon went on to win gold. Frankly, the way it panned out was, Brandon beat the toughest guy in the tournament. Then he beat the second toughest guy in the tournament, Laliev from Kazakhstan. He got to the finals, and he lost a very controversial match to a German by the name of Leipold in the finals. 2 weeks later, turns out Leipold tested positive for steroids and was stripped of his medal, bumping Brandon up to gold, bumping the bronze medalist up to silver, and the fourth placer up to third. So
steroids will do that for you.
Yeah, he was. His name was erased as if he had never even competed in the games.
Well, hey, what do coaches tell you? You got to pay the consequences if you do it, right?
Yeah, that's right. So, but Brandon, yeah, he coached at USA Wrestling for 8 years. So he's an Olympic champion. He's an Olympic coach. And also at USA Wrestling, he was the developmental coach. So he was taking the cadet world teams and the junior world teams into competition. So guys like, Kyle Snyder when he was 16, 17 years old, Mark Hall, and lots of other guys, taking them to their age group world championships at the cadet and junior level. And so he's got a great experience working with that age level as well as the senior guys. And in 2016, after the Rio Games, Brandon came back to Pennsylvania, and he's the executive director and head coach of the Pennsylvania RTC.
Awesome. So you must be like a proud papa, right?
Yeah, it's coaching my athlete to be a coach, right? And so, yeah. But in reality,
he didn't do that bad at wrestling either.
Yeah, right. So yeah, I was, it was a pleasure to coach Brandon through his college career, and at select events, leading up to the Sydney Games, and now we get to work together on a daily basis. It's really special. He has 4 children, moved to Media, Pennsylvania, just outside of Philadelphia, and we get to work together every day on building something really special here.
That's awesome. Yeah. Mr. Crum just said one of my really good memories is helping set up Brandon's gold medal ceremony on the Today Show.
Yeah, how about that, Bill? You're right. Once it was, I think it's about 2 weeks after the games that 2 wrestlers tested positive, and we knew one of them was a finalist, or was a gold medalist. One of them was not. And then when it was determined that it was Leipold, they made arrangements, the U.S. Olympic Committee and I think the International Olympic Committee in New York City, in Rockefeller Plaza on the Today Show is where he got his medal. It's all kind of surreal. But that's what happened.
Yeah, I'd say, hey, what a great place to get it. And not a bad place to get it. So that's cool. Well, awesome, man. I'd love to talk to him if he'd ever like to come on here. That would be it'd be an honor to talk to him. Yeah. I know, and you spoke a little bit about this, but you find the Olympic styles very important, and talk about your belief and commitment to Olympic styles and why it's so important to you.
Yeah. So super important for a number of reasons. One is, many of the skills carry forward, particularly to college wrestling, and a couple of examples of those are, just when you're hitting leg attacks, in freestyle, you got to hit them in really good body position. It's much better percentage if you get to your feet to finish. And similarly in NCAA wrestling, if you're hitting leg attacks in bad body position, you're going to pay a price for it. And if you don't get to your feet to finish, it's going to be a lot more complicated and tougher to finish and a lot more energy draining. So right there, it teaches you to, to get up off your knees and finish on your feet. And there's lots of other styles or techniques, I should say, in freestyle that also carry over to the collegiate style. But the other main reason is, unlike high school, where there are many national level tournaments to choose from that are scholastic style, in college, you just don't have that. You've got the NCAA Division I championships. There is a national college open for those guys that, aren't competing in their conference tournament, but it's not the same caliber as the high school events, like Super 32 and like Virginia Beach and like the Beast and Doc Buchanan and Ironman. So you just don't have the number of tournaments that are truly national caliber tournaments at the college level in collegiate style or scholastic style. They're in freestyle. And in freestyle, you've got 3 different age divisions that we can send guys to, right? In addition to qualifying to get to the NCAA tournament, we can send guys to the UWW juniors. We can send guys to the U23s. We can send guys to the senior open. And we can send multiple guys per weight class and they don't have to qualify. So we can get those guys through the PRTC and through Penn Wrestling into those national caliber events. And just an example, Dan, obviously this past year we were shut down for spring freestyle for collegiate, but the year before we entered 36 guys, 36 entries in national level freestyle or Greco-Roman competition. We came away with 16 All-Americans, right? And these are very, we're building our program. A lot of these are very young guys, underclassmen, who are coming out, challenging to make world teams, placing at national level events. Their confidence is growing, their experience is growing. But if they didn't have experience in freestyle or Greco, they would be really challenged to gain that experience, right? So for those reasons, all those reasons and more, we think it's really, plus they're fun. It's a fun style, right? Bottom line.
Yeah, my son just ended 9th grade, and this was going to be his first. We had never been in a club, and when we found a club last year, it was after the freestyle season, but it was going to be his first time doing it. But he studies it a lot because he talks about it, and I see him and his brother messing around in the backyard. But as far as being coached at it, he hasn't. But I think he's one of those kids. He's pretty smart. He tells me, I could wrestle in a freestyle tournament right now. And I'm like, but you've never practiced it. He goes, I'd probably wrestling is wrestling, Dad. Okay.
Okay. I love the attitude.
Yeah. I said, well, it's one thing watching Echemendia walk in and win a Greco tournament without ever doing Greco, but there's, he's not a normal human.
Yeah. Well, it is a transition, and in my experience, the first tournament or two can be really challenging and confusing and learning the rules and positions. But usually you hit your 3rd or 4th tournament, you got to starting to get a pretty good feel for it. And there's lots of levels too, right? So I talked about the national level in college, but for a high school or middle school wrestler, there's in every state, there's local tournaments, throughout the state, which lead up to the state tournament, which lead up to the regional tournament. So there's lots of levels. And again, I think it's a really fun style once you get past the first few, what the heck's going on out there. Yeah, you start to figure it out. And I think kids really like it.
Cool. Well, some of the stuff that I think you kind of touched on this a little bit, but maybe this is your second stint as coach at Penn, right?
That's right.
And there's kind of been this resurgence there that you've had since being back involved. And talk about it. I mean, you guys are doing really good things. You're getting really good. I mean, what do you think has caused it, other than Coach Reina?
I think like anything in terms of an effort on this scale, it's really the combined efforts of quite a number of people. But so I'm back now in my 3rd year in this second stint as the head coach at Penn. And when I got asked to consider coming to take the program back over, there were several key alumni, some of our biggest donors and contributors, and guys that I've really looked to as mentors, and just asked them. I said, look, like if I'm going to come back and do this, are you guys all in? Let's think big. If we're gonna take a run at this, and everybody was 100% like, Coach, if you're in, I'm in. Let's go make something really special happen. So we've got some very very tremendous, supporters, tremendously strong supporters of our program, and that's both for the college program, Dan, and the RTC. And these days, to be a top 10 level, even top 20 level NCAA team, you need a viable RTC in the Olympic styles. And you need those next level, senior level training partners. I'd like to talk a little bit about our year this past year and picking guys up, because it's really been phenomenal. So one is, financial support, right? And the second is administrative support. Do you have support from the university? Like, are you, aligned, with the athletic director, the associate athletic director, and their vision and mission for the sport at your school? And again, both for the college program and for the RTC. And we're very fortunate. We're very well aligned. Our athletic director, Dr. Grace Calhoun, is a big believer in Olympic sports. She comes out of a track and gymnastics background in terms of her own sports, and she chairs the Division I council right now. So all athletic directors and commissioners of every conference around the country, she chairs that organization. So she's got a big seat in college athletics right now, and very much a supporter of wrestling. And then the other person that we have is Matt Valenti, and Matt was someone I recruited out of high school and coached in college, and he went on to be a 2-time NCAA champion for us at Penn, and then competed at the Olympic level for 4 years, and now he's the associate athletic director. So he's the sport supervisor for the sport of wrestling, and just a tremendous ally, and great knowledge of the sport. And so we're really well aligned, with kind of the administration in terms of what we're trying to accomplish here. So and then it's a lot of hustle, right? We're out there hustling, recruiting, and focused not only on our region, which is Pennsylvania, New Jersey, Ohio, New York, kind of mid-Atlantic region, but then also with Penn's academic reputation, able to recruit nationwide as well. So you kind of put all those things together, and I'm very fortunate. We've got a wonderful head assistant coach, Brian Pearsall, who wrestled for Cale Sanderson up at Penn State and was on 3 NCAA championship teams at Penn State and on their rise nationally. So he brings a lot of experience to bear as well. So big effort by a lot of people, I guess, is ultimately what it comes down to.
Yeah, and I think I had one of your previous coaches on the show, Coach Chase
Pammy. Yep. Tremendous competitor in his own right. He was an athlete first for the PRTC, the Pennsylvania Regional Training Center. And then he came on as coach as well, and ultimately retired a year earlier than he had originally planned due to injuries. So, basically retired, based on injuries, and then really picked up, his game coaching, and really made a tremendous impact with our program. So Chase is back, headed back home to Las Vegas, where his parents and family live, and he's launched the Gold Rush Wrestling Academy in Vegas, which has been a dream of his to do something back home. So
yeah, you see it up there over my left shoulder.
Hey, all right, there it is.
Hey, Gold Rush. He was on, so
great.
I got to get a Penn logo up there. So
we'll get you one for sure.
Yes, sir. And
good looking wall.
Thank you. Yeah, I'm trying something different. I've spent the weekend kind of changing my background a little bit, and I said, why not? Everybody has been helping me do the show, so why not kind of throw that up there? I've got your old stomping ground with the NWCA up there, NCW, with Coach Annenball. Be happy that I put that up there.
Great.
I know you wanted to. Did you say you wanted to speak about some athletes or?
Yeah, for sure. Just this RTC, kind of evolving. RTC is evolving across the country. For us, we launched the Pennsylvania RTC in August of 2014. So we're coming up, right on 6 years of operating it. But Dan, it was really built on a couple of decades worth of experience. So, going back to the days when Foxcatcher was happening, it was out in Newtown Square, Pennsylvania, just 12 miles from our campus. And, with having guys like Dave Schultz and Brian Dolph and Dan Shade and Trevor Lewis. And at that time, the U.S. was winning, world titles in freestyle, and just so much talent in the wrestling world out there. And so we developed a lot of really good friendships and relationships with those guys. And obviously that ended tragically with Schultz. And we formed, working with Nancy and the family and some other wrestlers, we formed the Dave Schultz Wrestling Club. and we ran that for 3 different Olympiads: the Atlanta Games, the Sydney Games, and then on to the Athens Games. So all that time, we had Olympic level guys, in and around our college wrestling program at the University of Pennsylvania. And so then when we launched the RTC 6 years ago, the Pennsylvania RTC, we built it on all that experience. And we're really excited, again, to have Coach Slay with us, Olympic champion, Olympic coach who went to our school. And now we've been turning over from Chase Pammy and BJ Futrell, who was a national team member who retired also because of injury a year earlier than these games, the 2020 games, as he had anticipated. But we recruited 5 new guys this past year. So we were poised. We knew it was going to be a recruiting year for us, and despite pandemic, we've moved forward. And we added on Joey McKenna, graduated from Ohio State, and Joey was a U.S. Open champion in freestyle as an undergrad, which is really rare, and a great 4.0 student, great example for our college guys. And then Ethan Lezak, who's from Pennsylvania originally, came back to Pennsylvania from his years at the University of Minnesota to train freestyle. Everybody knows him as the backpack and his top wrestling game, but he was on a junior world team in freestyle. He's an excellent freestyler as well. So those 2 lighter weights, and then we brought on first 4-time All-American from Virginia Tech, Dave McFadden, a New Jersey native, and U23 freestyle world team member. So that was the 3rd. And then the big news 2 weeks ago was Mark Hall. 3 age group world championships to his credit, NCAA champion at Penn State, on NCAA championship teams. And Coach Slay had coached several of these guys in those cadet and junior world championship teams. So he had a relationship with them. And Mark also was very committed to serving Beat the Streets Philly, which was founded by 2 of our Penn wrestling alumni, and growing the sport, for inner city kids in Philadelphia. And Mark really wants to be a role model and serve those kids. And then on the upper weight side, we brought in Ben Honus. Ben was an All-American in college and a U.S. Open finalist in freestyle. So those 5 guys have all come in, just in the past year. And so we've got 9 total resident athletes at the senior level, and 2 flex athletes that come to train with us time to time. Earl Hall from Florida, one of them. And,
Nice.
Yeah, and Kyle Snyder, another that comes in and trains with us from time to time. So 11 athletes, Coach Slay, Matt Valenti still working with the senior guys as well. And we've got a tremendous environment. And then we've got some other announcements coming here later this summer that I think will be pretty exciting too.
That's awesome. Yeah, I mean, I had a young man on from Florida who's he was just finished his freshman year at Virginia Tech, Trey Lane, and he mentioned that he was like in 6th grade or something, or 5th grade, and he was on a team, and the 8th grader on the team was Mark Hall. And of course, back then, he knew he was good, but he wasn't like Mark Hall yet, right? But
right.
Now that he tells the story, it's pretty cool. But I do this whole 10-question thing, but before we get into that, I did want to ask you, what do you recommend kids do to prepare for the next level as far as college? I know a lot of kids, they think they're going to be the big fish still, or they want to be the big fish, but you're coming up to a college level that's a whole different ball game. What do you tell kids out there when you're talking to them to, say you're juniors, you're recruiting, hey, this is what you should prepare for at the next level, or
Yep.
That makes sense.
Yeah, for sure. Well, it's a big transition from high school to college, right? And I think it's a big transition for, no matter how good you are in high school. There's a few individuals that, go in there and break onto the NCAA scene as true freshmen, but most everybody goes through transition, right? So what are those transitions? I'd say the number one is getting off the bottom. And for a couple reasons. One is, just more physical college aged guys, ride harder, look to turn more, and are just really physical, and also to pick up that riding time point, which comes into play in a lot of college matches. So you can never be too good getting off the bottom. And I would say, juniors in high school who are committed to going on to wrestle in college, spending extra time getting off the bottom, no matter, how good they are at it in high school. It's going to be a challenge in college. So that's one. I think another is strength, right? So taking advantage of strength training opportunities, formal in gyms. I know a lot of times, these days, especially, some people might not have access to gyms, but lots of ways to get stronger, climbing ropes, pull-ups, push-ups, the guy that works the jackhammer every day, he does not on a lifting plan, but he's probably pretty strong. So go find ways to get strong, because but that's a big transition point as well. And I think, again, back to the Olympic styles, getting a good chunk of freestyle and Greco, if you want to go that route as well, great. But freestyle for sure, get a good chunk of matches under your belt so that when you get to college, you can take advantage of all those national level events, age group events for college guys. And there's others, but I think those are probably the most common pieces of advice that I would offer.
Cool. Well, thanks for that. And hopefully kids out there hear it and they do it, right?
That's right. That's right.
So, all right, I got 10 questions for you. You ready?
Great.
All right. Wood or ice or tasty cake?
Tasty cake.
All right. Old City or East Passyunk?
Old City.
Scrapple or Philly pretzel?
Ugh. I'd go Scrapple once a month.
Yeah, that's the one thing. I remember working at the car dealership up in Doylestown, and somebody would show up for $1. You'd get a paper bag, and it'd have 3 hot pretzels in there.
That's right.
All right, South Street or Reading Market?
Reading Market.
That's a cool place.
Yep.
The hoagie, as you call it, or tomato pie?
I'd go hoagie.
University City or Fishtown?
I like them both. That's tough. Penn's at University City. I got to go with the home mat advantage.
I like it. Let's see. The Museum of Art or Independence Hall?
Wow. Both world-class features. I was a history major in college. That Independence Hall and the beginning of democracy in the world. Yeah. Independence Hall.
I like it. Penn's Landing or Chinatown?
Penn's Landing. I love the view of the water, and Chart House is a fun place to go have dinner.
And Philly does have a cool Chinatown, but yeah, it's hard to beat that Penn's Landing.
Yeah.
All right, I couldn't do one or the other because there's so many, and I probably could have added like Las Spadas to this up in Delaware County, but I went Tony Luke's, Pat's, Jim's, or Gino's.
Delisandro's in Roxborough.
Delisandro's in Roxborough.
Little known.
I got to go check that out.
It's a gem. Best cheesesteaks in Philly.
I tell you, I used to like going to that little Nifty 50s diner.
That's a fun one too. You know your way around.
900 different flavors for your Coca-Cola.
Yeah.
All right, here's one. I've experienced them both. The Vet or the Link?
Ooh.
Nothing like that 700 section, right?
I'd say the Link.
Yeah, I was at the first game at the Link. It was a preseason game against the Patriots, and I was sitting in the upper deck. We were up there, and it was pretty cool. But I remember my first time. I went up to Philly. We were up there in school, and I had never been to the Vet, so my wife was studying. I said, I'm going to go, and I thought I knew what I was doing. It's winter. I'm a kid from Miami, whatever, and I was freezing in there. I don't know if you remember the game when McNabb broke his leg and they were carrying him through and it was cold. But I remember the opposing team. I think it was the Redskins or the Giants they were playing, one of the rivals. And my first experience, and a family walks in with a different team on, and it was like the whole crowd stood up and started pointing at them and calling them French terms. And I'm like, wow, that's like an 8-year-old kid with his mom and dad, but he's wearing the other colors. And it was like, all right, now I get it.
Tough crowds.
Phillies, but it was fun. I was glad to see. My grandma was a South Philly girl, so I think that she's resting in peace now that they won a Super Bowl.
That was a 2 to 3 million person parade when the Super Bowl came to Philly and the Eagles won it. But right down in that same area, South Philly, keep your ear to the rail here. We got our fingers crossed, and we're doing our best to bring the NCAA wrestling championships to Philly. So we got our hat in the ring. We hosted in 2011, and we're really hopeful. We're really hopeful it comes back here to Philadelphia, where the first college wrestling took place. Right. So I think I mentioned before the first college wrestling tournament history at the University of Pennsylvania in 1905. So we're hoping to welcome the tournament back home.
Yeah, and I would love. I've never been to one, but I'm looking forward to going to the next one, and I would look forward to being in Philly because I do like that town. It's I think per square feet, it's the best city per square feet for you to eat and drink and have fun in the country. I think I could say that. I've been to Chicago, Boston, New York, and I love them all. But I think per square feet, there's something about Philly, and just it's in the water. It's in the water.
The biggest small town there is sometimes how it's referred to. The biggest small town there is.
Yeah, well, I got a lot of good memories there, and it was an absolute honor to speak to you, sir. A pleasure. And if there's anybody that you'd like to invite on the show, I'll share my link with you. You can share it with them, and I'll know when they come on because they'll make an appointment.
All right.
Yeah.
Well, that sounds great. Really appreciate what you're doing for the sport, Dan, and a big shout out to everybody down in the Southeast who's listening. We got a big respect for all the coaches and wrestlers and families making it happen down there. So I'm happy to have some of them coming up to wear the red and blue with us.
Yeah, and I just like I told Jay Martell, like, you're gonna love that town. He'll be working a little hard, but he'll get some of that. He'll get some of the water. All right, see you, Coach.
Very good. Thank you, Dan.